Welcome to the ResearchWorks podcast, broadcasting live from the Oceania Academy of Cerebral Palsy and Other Childhood Onset Disabilities Conference 2026 in the beautiful city of Hobart, Australia. Join Dr. Dana Poole and the ResearchWorks team as we bring you an exclusive series of interviews with visionary keynote speakers and leading presenters, captured right here amid the groundbreaking discussions and innovations shaping the future of disability research and care.
Welcome back, everyone. We have another wonderful episode for you here at the Oceania Conference in 2026. We have another person who got onto the PhD platform. Very prestigious. It's absolutely incredible. Congratulations and welcome, Dr. Carly Luke.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you back on the pod again.
Yeah, it's exciting to be back.
Oh, it's so good because the last time we spoke, it was at the previous conference and you were still in the midst of doing all this work, and now you've finished your PhD and you are now presenting for the PhD platform, which is so wonderful, isn't it? Like it's a huge honor, and it really speaks to the kind of work that you've done and the impact that it has had or is going to have as well, which is so fabulous. Before we get into your actual PhD, which I'll call out the title for in a second, how did you come to do your PhD? Like, what is your background?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Good one to start, huh?
Yes. So I'm a physiotherapist and was working in paediatrics for it's been 12 years before I started my PhD.
Right.
Mostly in Queensland with the Queensland Paediatric Rehab Service.
Great.
Shout out to my old teammates. And that's how I met Professor Ros Boyd, who was my main supervisor. And I did some work as a research physiotherapist on Kathy Morgan's game trial for her.
Right.
And then clinical took me another way, back to clinical for a few years.
Okay.
And then I happened to be moving back up to North Queensland and reached out to Ros and asked if she was running any studies that required a physio up there. And if anyone knows Ros, she said, come and meet me for coffee. And 45 minutes later, I'd signed up to a PhD. So that's how I got into it.
That is a familiar story. I remember I've heard Ros say that to someone before. She's like, give me a few minutes with them and I'll get them there. But that's great though, like being a clinician first. And often it comes out of nowhere wanting to do research, or there's a little bit of an inkling, but you kind of don't really know which avenue to go down.
Yeah.
But how great to be part of different research studies and to get a bit of a taster. But then you did a PhD. I mean, that's quite a big jump from like, oh, is there a research study I could be involved in to PhD?
Yeah. I mean, it was very targeted at the area. I was sort of becoming more niche in that 0 to 2 early identification and detection.
Yeah.
So it was a targeted PhD opportunity. So it just really fit where I was at the time.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of what you learn from being a PhD student and how that enhances what you do clinically as well, it's pretty incredible what that
absolutely.
is like. Okay?
Yes.
So we're going to go through your PhD now, but for everyone, the title of Carly's PhD is Early Identification of Australian First Nations Infants with High Chance of Neurodevelopmental Disability or Neurodiverse Outcomes at 12 months. That pretty much describes a lot. That's like a perfect title, really. It's got it all in there. Basically the Pico, right?
Yes,
right there.
exactly.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Okay, so your PhD was made up of 3 distinct studies. One led to the other, obviously, but let's go through. Study 1, what were you trying to do in the first instance to start to answer this particular? Well, actually, maybe before we go into that, what was the big question?
Yeah.
The overarching question, even though the title is very fantastic.
Yes.
Let's do a question.
Yeah. I mean, when it started out, we were actually looking at implementing the CP early detection guidelines in a culturally appropriate way for First Nations families. And then when we actually went on a journey, as you do with your PhD, and we did a year of community engagement and consultation.
Right.
And we found out pretty quickly that community was less interested in the children that had CP because they felt that they knew those children.
Right.
But they really wanted us to tell them which bubs had high likelihood of autism or fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, or which bubs are actually developing on track and don't need any extra support.
Right.
So we went, okay, back to the drawing board.
Right.
Let's see, this is what community wants and this is what we need to look at.
And that's so good that you did that, because it is Co-design is one of those interesting words where it has been thrown around a lot. It's like more than I've ever heard before at this conference, right? But if you're going to engage in co-design, be aware that what you think might be what you need to study is not what the consumers want you to study.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. You went and followed that path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. We learnt things right from day one and are still learning things now beyond PhD about how to be better clinicians at an individual level.
Yeah.
And then what does community want at more of that healthcare model level as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so with that in mind then, study one. What was that one all about? How did you start?
Study one was about the looking at the reliability of the motor optimality score revised because we went back and went, well, GMs is not going to tell us that alone. Fidgety movements will tell us about high risk of cerebral palsy, but not everything else.
Yeah.
So is there a tool that we could maybe use at that time point which might give us more information?
Sure.
And that was the motor optimality score. We can use the same video. So and we still wanted to collect GMs because we know that's the best predictor of CP, which obviously we're still looking for as well.
Yes.
So we wanted to know, how reliable is this amongst a group of clinicians who aren't GM's tutors. We were very lucky that we did work with Ari Boss, who's a senior GM's trust tutor.
Right.
So he's been with us every step of the way.
Wonderful. Thank
which
you.
is great.
Yes.
And he's on the study.
I bet, yes.
So we looked at how reliable is it and is there a difference if we have one video versus two to look at?
Right.
So we really wanted to use it to also guide clinical, how we're going to implement the tool clinically because that's the end aim.
Ultimately, that's where we want to be.
Yeah,
that's
so we wanted to get that information out too. And is it better if you score individually or get a consensus in a group?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the time points are still the same. The 12-week mark is the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So we collected we had 6 raters.
Yes.
3 of them scored just one video.
Yes.
And 3 scored both videos for each infant.
Okay.
And that's how we looked at, And the people who scored 2 videos actually had much better reliability than those who only scored 1.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Makes sense. That's right. Okay. So in terms of its reproducibility, your main conclusion?
Main conclusion is 2 videos were better than 1. We recommended also calibrating with an expert where possible.
Okay.
So we had all been scoring with Ari for at least 6 months before we did the reproducibility study, and that scoring in a consensus group is highly recommended.
Right. Yeah. And that's best practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that just confirms that quite nicely. Good to know you don't have to change practice too much, but you can put these structures in place to make sure you safeguard the data. Yeah.
The other thing we did actually, because we realised that clinicians are very time poor, and so adding this as an extra step for each GM's videos, they're going to want to know how long it's going to take.
Of course.
So we got everyone to time from start to finish.
And go.
Thank you for all of the co-authors on this study. And average time was 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Yeah. So,
right.
And I think that now, so this is right back at the start. Now, 5 years later, we've still been scoring together as a group weekly. I think that our time would be a lot quicker than that. And also people were doing it for a study, so they were taking a lot longer to make sure that they were seeing everything.
Yes.
But I think 3 to 5 minutes,
it's
honestly.
Very doable.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? I love that you added the element of time in it. We talk about that even within how we write reports. I'm like, time yourselves. And everyone looks at me and goes, why? I'm like, no, I'm not testing you. It's just I want you to sort of know how long it takes. So then you can plan your workload.
Yeah.
And then it makes it more feasible for you to actually integrate this into your practice rather than you just keep adding things that are like half an hour, then it's not going to be doable.
Yeah,
what a great strategy. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so good study 1.
Yes.
Now into study 2.
So study 2, obviously Queensland is like a huge state and about 40% of families live in regional, rural, remote areas.
So as much as 40%?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess it would probably be similar to WA.
Very similar. Yeah. Okay.
So we were sort of like, well, not all the families are going to come into clinic or live near specialist services.
That's right.
So we wanted to look at how feasible is it to implement the CP early detection guidelines to the state of Queensland. So we had the QEDA network established in 2017 by Professor Ros Boyd and Dr. Joanne George.
Okay, yes.
So they developed it and then obviously it's been taken over with change of roles and everything.
Sure.
And it was basically to train up clinicians across the state to be able to deliver these screening programs using most evidence-based tools.
Right.
So to date now, like as of when I ran the numbers a week ago, we've trained almost 700 clinicians in GMs and Hine.
700.
700 in Queensland. Yeah, it's a pretty good effort.
That is not bad at all.
Yeah.
That is over what period of time did you do that?
8 years, so 2017 to 2025. But there was a big bulk time period from 2017 to probably about 2020 pre-COVID where majority of those clinicians would have been trained in those tools. Yeah.
That's a huge effort.
Yeah.
But that's transformative though, isn't it? When it comes to actually implementing these guidelines, you have to follow it up with some training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we did that. We trained clinicians and then we they screened infants locally on them. Really, it was set up, to implement the guidelines, but also then to identify infants early that might be eligible for some of the early intervention studies we were running. So it was a bit twofold.
Came to hand in hand.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So clinicians could refer in. They could use us for access to the Baby Moves app.
Right.
Which obviously is very handy for families who live in the most remote areas where they can take the video on the phone and we can score for them, or we would transfer their videos back to their local clinicians to score. They could ask for a second opinion on GM's video from advanced assessors at Kew Eden.
Yes.
Or Hine. Or it might have just been a referral for eligibility to an early intervention study we were running.
Just on that note then, that's pretty incredible. So really there was so much collaboration that was happening. I mean, when you mentioned Baby Moves app as well, look, that's a project that we've heard about at this conference too. So you really were collaborating with pretty much all the main players of the space at the moment. There was a great cohesive effort.
Yeah, and I think it came under the umbrella of the CRE. That's how we became Hine trainers. So that was in 2017. I think I'll get the numbers wrong on this, but I think there was 15 of us trained across Australia by Lena Hardisher to then roll out the training across Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was all the training done in person? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it was great pre-COVID.
I was going to say, I like the majority of the numbers were.
Yes. So we and Jo did the majority up till about 2020.
Right.
Where she flew sort of around Queensland and delivered them in person. And then we had some locally in Brisbane too. I was in Townsville at some of that time. So I think I was delivering up there. And then COVID, luckily in North Queensland and in a lot of Queensland, actually, we didn't really have restrictions.
Right.
So we could still travel around the state and do training. And that's when LEAP started. So when we were doing community engagement at each part, we also offered Hine training and we did a little bit of a package on just what is early detection, how to take a general movements video for clinicians who weren't trained but were still seeing babies.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so when it comes to the main conclusion for study 2 and the feasibility, what would you say about that?
And then I didn't mention, because there was this question from community about detecting other things earlier.
Of course, yes.
We actually used anyone who'd been referred to us for a second opinion or had used Baby Moves app. We looked at their videos and scored the MOSAR on them.
Okay, because 2 streams going. Right.
Yeah, and this study had 2-year outcomes. So we had, I think at the time, around 350 babies that had 2-year outcomes. So we actually looked at how predictive are the MOSAR and the Hine for cerebral palsy, developing on track or typically, and then this grey area in the middle, which we called neurodevelopmental or high likelihood of neurodevelopmental disability or delay based on any diagnosis they may have had, like global developmental delay or autism or something else.
Yes.
Or if they were delayed on any other tools like the Bailey or the Peabody or the ASQ3. Sorry.
Ages and stages questionnaire. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So hence the 2 streams we're having from that.
Yeah.
So your PhD just got bigger as you're going along, really?
Yeah,
I was going to say.
Yes.
All right. So what will be the results? Should we cover the high likelihood, what's the terminology? High chance of neurodevelopmental disability?
And I'm being very specific in that terminology because that was actually the language that was given to us by First Nations.
That's important,
people, stakeholders, families, that they didn't like high risk, that had different connotations. And chance was the word that
the word, yeah. Oh, I can understand that. Risk is not a not aware that feels very safe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
And we learned that very, very early.
Right,
so,
okay.
yeah, we stopped using it very early.
Okay. All right. No, that's good for us to learn. So what did that look like in your results?
Well, we found that actually it is quite feasible. There's 18 hospital and health services in Queensland, and we had referrals from every single hospital and health service. And we were definitely able to get baby moves out and collect GMs on a lot of those babies that were not local and didn't have access to those more specialist services. So great, feasible.
Yeah, good.
And also from a potential transdiagnostic predictive ability of those tools, we found that, they could actually differentiate those infants who were likely to be developing typically or on track compared to those who are a higher chance of other non-CP neurodelay or disability.
Isn't that great to have some assessment for that? It's often it's so late. What's the average age? I don't even know what the average age of diagnosis often is, but it's much, much longer than that. And then there's the whole process of getting an official diagnosis at that point.
Absolutely. And I mean, some of those, that's why I say transdiagnostic, because we know that for some of those other conditions, those developmental differences have some crossover at the start. So movement differences, postural differences, learning differences, cognition. And we know that these tools can pick up some of those things.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're not saying that, these tools can diagnose.
That's right.
But it's about getting those children off monitoring lists and into early intervention and then working out whilst they're in early intervention what pathway they may be on.
A bit more of a proactive approach, isn't it, than being so reactive, which I think just bottlenecks our services long term. Yeah.
And I think it's also good to know which of those bubs or babies are developing on track because actually they probably need less monitoring.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you can move your resources.
Yes. I love that. Okay, study 3.
Yes, the big one.
The big one. I was going to say, wow. So this is, well, you talk about it's all about LEAP, but go for it. This is big.
So LEAP, learning through everyday activities with parents, is Kath Bempfer, Dr. Kath Bempfer's baby. So it has an early identification component and then obviously bubs that are identified with a higher chance of cerebral palsy, or we added other neurodevelopmental delay to the criteria for they can then get referred to her early supports program, which was all culturally adapted. I was working purely on the early screening, early detection part of the program, and I worked hand in hand with Leanne McRam-Sammy, who's also presenting at this conference, and she did the whole cultural framework for the program.
Beautiful.
Because it wouldn't matter if I had the best tools, if we didn't make a program that people wanted to engage with, families wanted to engage with, well, we're not seeing any bubs anyway.
Yeah. Huge thing to embark on.
Yes. And it got bigger. I think they tend to, though.
They do, don't they? I love when we first chatted, I was like, so how many studies did you do for this one? Like, well, okay. You could probably divide this up. This feels like 2 PhDs here, Carly. And I know that you presented some work the other day on what you're doing now, and it's all just been an extension of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to wrap up study 3 before I jump the gun here, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
So what did you find through study 3, the LEAP study?
So study 3, we co-developed, Leanne and I, a whole new screening program which looked at the barriers and facilitators for First Nations engagement with health services. And we embedded those into Townsville and Cairns follow-up services, so it's in the health system. So we made a lot of changes. You can read the paper. I won't go into it now, or you can come and see the PhD platform tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we're talking about it there. So we found that we improved retention at 12 months with First Nations families by almost 40% compared to routine care. Yeah, we did an audit at both sites before we started.
That's wonderful.
It's huge. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that was the biggest thing that came out of it.
Yeah, I can imagine that being the case because this is now the foundations, right? And it just shows the value of everything you did, the co-design and answering questions that were important.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was the big one, I think. And that was across both sites. So that was great.
Yeah.
And then we also found that our tools, we looked a little bit closer, more specifically at prediction of autism and fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, because that's what we were asked.
Yeah, sure.
And both tools, again, could differentiate those infants who were higher likelihood or higher chance of autism and higher chance of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder compared to developing on track.
Wow.
Which is great. Again, we're not diagnosing at this age. It's obviously too early, but we're just getting those babies into early supports whilst we're going through a diagnostic workup.
Beautiful. What a huge body of work. Yeah. So where has it led you to now? What are you doing?
Oh, my goodness. Still in the same space. We're writing up the QEDEN cohort, which now has screened over 1,000 infants, and we have outcomes on almost 600 babies at 2 years. So I think we're going to get very good data from that.
Those are not small numbers, Carly.
They're not small numbers. So if I'm rocking in a corner doing stats, that's why.
We've all been through it, right? We all have to go through it at some point, yes. Why am I doing this? Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So that's sort of that package of work, because I think we're really, in Australia, I think we can be really proud of how well established the CP early detection guidelines are everywhere now.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's coming through really strongly in this conference, isn't it? It's so much to be proud of. I love how you said that, and you've been part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a huge body work by a lot of really amazing
people coming together.
And shows what we can do when everyone comes together.
It's amazing, right? As cliche as it sounds, there's a reason why it's that way.
Yeah. But I'm really interested, as a clinician who worked in those growth and development or early neonatal follow-up clinics, what about these other babies that we know have other delays or other things going on, and we don't want to wait till a year when they're showing signs. We want to also get them into intervention earlier.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So that's what's happening now.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. Congratulations once again on this work. And I know it always feels a little bit like, when someone says, keep saying congratulations, but it's a huge amount of work and it contributes. And a good PhD is one that contributes to literature in such a meaningful way. So there's a lot to be proud of there, Carly.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And looking forward to seeing the next stage of your research career. And we'll have you back on the pod as things keep coming out, because we want to keep sharing it. Hope everyone really enjoyed that. How inspiring is it to look at how the early detection guidelines are implemented and what happens when you truly partner with the people who want the service. There's something really incredible that does happen, and this is the kind of results that you can get. It's really, truly phenomenal. So congratulations again, and we'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye.
Thank you.